Alrighty, here we are again. R3 Podcast, Radio Rap Reel, 4th installment. We've come a long way. An entire year. 2020 is wrapped up. Pun intended. And we're here to talk. We're here to talk about our top 10. I'm Matt Mayhem, DJ Mayhem, alongside
MC Duranman, DJ X-Ray. Just call me X-Ray.
Yeah, man, it was a great year, I think, personally. We got a lot of music. Everyone was kind of forced to be huddled inside, artists and fans alike. So fans got a lot of listening time. Artists got a lot of, studio
production
time. And I think that ironically produced some great work. Some of my favorite artists, some of your favorite artists came out and put out a lot of content. I think that was one of the pluses to this whole negative, COVID-19 situation. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, honestly, it almost makes me, when you mention that, it almost makes me wonder what artists were doing if they weren't recording music. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because they can't tour. So it's like, that's most of what an artist's schedule is, touring and then production. So now if they're just producing, you would think everybody's going to be coming out with music now.
Yeah. And those who didn't drop, you could, I think it's, as fans, we should assume, if they are truly artists, that if they didn't drop in 2020, that it's just set up for 2021. 2021 is looking like, I think we can expect the most from 2021.
Oh, yeah. I was actually just opening a Hip Hop DX article, most anticipated albums of 2021. I mean, I don't know how seriously you can take these articles because, it's all hypothetical, but they say Isaiah Rashad's going to drop, JID or JID, SZA, them drop, Travis Scott, Utopia. Apparently that one's got an actual name. Megan Thee Stallion and Q-Tip, that's an interesting
a duo.
I guess he's just going to be, no, I think Q-Tip's producing. Still Durk and Metro Boomin. Drake, oh, you told me about the Drake album that they're anticipating.
Certified Lover Boy.
Yeah, Pusha T, J. Cole, The Fall Off.
Yep.
That's the one I want to hear the most, if not Kendrick Lamar. So yeah, I mean, this is just ideas, I guess, but between 2020 and 2021, we're definitely going to hear from pretty much everybody relevant, I would say.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, I think that sounds like a decent list. The big three is who I want to hear from. Drake, Kendrick, and J. Cole. But this was the year of, it was the B list or the tier 2 rappers year. The big three didn't drop. Everyone underneath had a chance to shine.
Oh yeah.
I mean, and I think that's a perfect segue into, what were your top 10 albums? I want to get into it. I want to see where we differ, where we're similar.
Sure, yeah.
But I think we should just start from the bottom and roll all the way up. We'll just both go back and forth, 10, 10, 9, 9, right up to number 1.
That makes sense. Let's do it.
Let's do it. Why don't you kick us off at 10?
So starting off at 10, and this is still technically a quarter 4 review. So last few months of 2020.
Yeah.
And Man on the Moon 3, The Chosen, Kid Cudi. I think that came out in December, if I'm not mistaken. And I loved it. I thought it was a great Kid Cudi album. I went back through his other music, and maybe it's a little bit different. I mean, it's been a while, I think, since the last time he dropped. But I think there was a lot of songs worth saving, especially in the first half of the album. So starting off I think it was the first or second track. Oh yeah, Tequila Shots. Dude, honestly, Tequila Shots through Damaged. Like, legitimately, the first half of the album was all fire, I would say. The first 8 tracks were all amazing. And I saved all of them. Another Day, She Knows This, Dive, Damaged. I think a lot of people that listen to the album would agree, like, the first half of the album is really good. And I think it's more like his, not upbeat, but more energetic type of music. It's a little bit more hip-hop style. Whereas the latter half of the album is more of the, like, cloud rap type of vibe that I think really influenced a lot of more contemporary hip hop. But it's not really for me. I'm not really into that as much. Although it was cool to hear a Trippie Redd collab near the end of the album with Rockstar Nights. But yeah, I mean, I would just say that it was good to hear him again. He's such a unique voice in the genre, and it's good to hear that he hasn't lost any talent. If anything, I'd say this is one of my favorite Kid Cudi albums.
Yeah, I think that's safe to say. I think, this was an album that nobody saw coming. I think if you had one of those lists at the beginning of 2020, I don't think Man on the Moon 3 would be on that. I think this was a surprise to everybody. I think Tequila Shots was a great song. Really love Tequila Shots. Really love the collab with Pop Smoke and Skepta. That was really good. And that was sort of because I mean, when I think of Man on the Moon 1 and 2, sometimes I have a tough time differentiating those two. But I think of the tracks like Pursuit of Happiness, the ones that could be played at a party. I think there's that level of expectation that he's going to have a song like that on the album. And I guess that was this one. I guess the Skepta and Pop Smoke track was going to be that. It's so hard because I feel like there were a lot of songs this year that would have went off in the club, and I think would have had even more traction if there was a club scene, if there was a party scene, and that just wasn't the case this year. Would it have been a bigger song if it had gotten more play in those venues? I don't know. It didn't live up to the Pursuit of Happiness type tracks for me, but it was still a good album. So yeah, appreciate it.
For sure. Yeah.
All right, at 10 for me, I've got Lil Uzi Vert, Eternal Atake. A lot of great songs on here. It was a really long album. Let me just give it a quick.
I mean, it's like a 2-part, isn't it? Like technically 2 discs, which I don't even get nowadays. It's all on digital streaming services.
Yeah,
so.
yeah, 2 discs.
Yeah.
So yeah, if I pull up the album, so what it actually was he actually dropped Eternal Atake, and then a little bit later he dropped the deluxe version, which actually doubled as Lil Uzi Vert versus the World 2, which was a mixtape that the sequel to a mixtape that he dropped earlier in his career. So yeah, he
just decided to make the deluxe a sequel,
a second album, pretty much. Yeah. So we got a lot of good tracks on here. Silly Watch, which I really
went from
love.
18 tracks to like 20 something tracks or more.
No, even more.
Tracks.
32.
30 something. 32.
Yeah. We got Silly Watch, Pop, Homecoming, Bigger Than Life. We got the part 2 to his major single from 2 years ago. A couple great tracks. And then we got some.
I don't think you mentioned Strawberry Peels yet.
Strawberry Peels was great.
I think that was my favorite track, not gonna lie.
Lil Uzi Vert is one of those rappers where you live and die by the snippet you put out on Instagram or on wherever. A lot of the rappers, we've seen success where they drop this little snippet and then they drop the song afterwards. That has been a major marketing avenue for artists these days, and he lived up to it with this album. So I think people were really happy.
What I like about the album is the energy. Like, I think the instrumentals perfectly complement the kind of energy that pops through with Uzi's voice, and it'll just get you super hyped, like almost the second the song starts. So I'm a huge fan of that. I mean, the more energy, the better, in my opinion. There's plenty of that. Yeah.
Then he went ghost for the rest of the year.
Yeah, true. He just disappeared. He was out. Oh, he had a really good feature on 2 Chainz' album. And then I think you mentioned P2, the song, which is basically like an EXO Life Tour sequel. I really like that one. I mean, the way it blended the instrumental and everything. Super sick. And I used to not be a Lil Uzi Vert fan. I mean, if anything, I was like a hater, like back in the day. But I mean, this album might have been the one that had me like come around and actually respect him and appreciate his music. Because I agree. I think it's a top 10 album of the year. I had that at my number 7. So big props to him. Definitely a huge accomplishment getting somebody like me to enjoy his music.
That is a big accomplishment.
And it's mainly the musicality. Yeah, real quick,
Yeah.
I don't think it is a matter of lyricism at all. I just think it's like the musicality of it that really shown. So number 9 for me, I said "Shake the Snow Globe" by Russ.
Oh,
And
okay.
yeah, and so we've already discussed that. I mean, we've kind of talked about a lot of these albums in earlier episodes, but I think "Shake the Snow Globe" has really stayed as one of the top albums of the year. I mean, I think that was like our first or second, it might have been our first episode where we talked about it because it was real early on. It's like February or something. And I think "Shake the Snow Globe" just has a really good, again, um, focus on the music, on the sound, and on the lyricism. Like he had some really good lyricism. Just I'd say very well-rounded album. If anything, it was just a little bit short. It was just 12 tracks, and it still had like some tracks that I felt like could have gotten left out. But I think, every song I like left out like sound wise, but I think every song he tried to have a message with lyrically. And he got some really cool features. He got Rick Ross, Boogus, who he started out with like from way back in the day with his early mixtapes. Kiana Lede, Benny the Butcher, Devin the Dude from like way back, and then the rapper Bia or BIA. I'm not really sure what she goes by.
Yeah.
With those 2 bonus tracks that were probably like between the 2 of them more popular than the album in its entirety, Civil War and Best on Earth.
Mm-hmm.
Well, my favorite track, like I said before, is "Guess What." It's still one of my favorite songs of the year. Probably like top 3, top 5 favorite song of the year.
Damn.
Yeah. Oh,
Crazy.
definitely. I love "Guess What." I think is amazing. It's just super smooth. I'd say maybe the best part of the album is, I guess, Russ's flow. Like he's been making so much music for so long that he has like a perfect grip over what he wants to sound like and what kind of flow he's got. And that kind of confidence, I don't know, shines through. I think it's a great project.
Yeah, my favorite track is "Foot on the Gas." I like that with Devin the Dude. I go back to that one a lot. Yeah, he definitely has a message with a lot of the tracks.
Yeah. Or I think it's worth mentioning that it's a little less hip hop than the rest of the albums on my list. There's a lot of R&B in it. I think I talked about that last time, which I'm not a big fan of, and that was my biggest critique of Russ since I started listening to his music. But I think I've come to appreciate R&B a little bit more over time, over the year, and I think it was a pretty decent blend. You can see how him producing it really helps blend the choruses that he sings with the production and the beat and all that. So even if it's like, I mean, if it's not your cup of tea, then just skip it. But if you don't mind R&B, I think it's a really good album.
I parallel that thought. All right, I'm gonna go to my number 9, which is Jack Harlow. That's what they all say. And I really, really enjoyed this album from front to back. This was one of the albums where there were it seemed like I was just saving and saving and saving. Some of my favorite songs were 21C and Delta. Obviously, What's Poppin' made it on there. I like Creme. It was a really great track. Rendezvous. And these, a lot of the times I have to pull up the track list. These ones I can just, pop off my head and it's still fresh. You know what I mean? It just came out, December. Yeah, in December. And it's been on repeat. A lot of tracks to go back to.
It's cool how on Rendezvous, I think he kind of came out the gate showing that he wanted it to be an album more focused on lyricism than pop appeal, which I really respect.
I respect when rappers can tell a narrative. It's like some rappers are totally lyrical and they're focusing on punchlines and things like that. And then some great rappers are really great at storytelling. Obviously, I feel like that has gotten lost over time. I feel like he blended that really well in this album. You know what I mean? There were a lot of stories, even if almost like he was giving you an image of a scene in a movie or a TV show while he was rapping. You know what I mean? He's having conversations with women where I can vividly see almost. I can picture how that conversation's going down, what the vibe is around him. Like, that's
I forget which song it was, but he kind of captured dialogue happening between him and other people. At a function.
Cool. I love that.
Exactly, where he's talking about the way they talk to him and the way he understands what they're actually saying and how he feels about it and all this stuff. It's really cool the way he writes that stuff. And then track 6, Always Best Friends with Chris Brown. I think that was like a movie scene type of thing, or almost like putting you
so good.
Exactly, yeah. It's like, yeah, it's almost like he's writing a script. It's like dialogue. It's really cool.
Very cool. All right.
For sure.
You want to go to your 8?
Yeah. So my 8 was So Help Me God by 2 Chainz. So that was a little bit later. I think that was October because it was after our last episode.
I think a little bit. I think it was November release.
Yeah, I mean, right out the gate, Lambo Wrist still might be my favorite track on the. I should put a Lambo on my wrist, but it's cool because it had a really dope build up. It was like I don't like it when there's like an intro, like a full intro song that's like super slow and it's like 2 minutes before you get to the track 2, which is the banger. He had like the first track, it had like 30 seconds of really good build up. Like, I'm gonna make you wait for the vocals to come in. And then I just put a Lambo on my wrist, and it's so 2 Chainz, you know?
So good. So 2 Chainz. That is so 2 Chainz.
So 2 Chainz. And like a lot of rappers that kill it on features and are known as like feature gods, I consider 2 Chainz a feature god. Like, he always kills his features. A lot of them never get known for their core discography, but put on old 2 Chainz albums. Like, I think they're full of good music, bangers.
Yeah.
Not everything is great, and like, let's see, I saved 5 tracks off of this album, so I think that's a pretty decent proportion, a 15-track album. Yes, so most of the tracks I saved were on the first half of the album, between Lambo Wrist and Free Lighter with Lil Uzi Vert and Chief Keef, track 9. But the second half of the album wasn't that bad either. It was just cool to hear the Southside production, you know, a little bit more old school Atlanta influence in the music, but still very grounded in new school, having Mulatto as a feature on Quarantine Thick, like, I don't know, just very contemporary, and yet had enough roots in good old school Southern hip hop to really keep me invested and captivated the whole album.
Yeah, you know, this is what I'll have to say about this album. Let me start by saying this. I think compared to a lot of other feature god rappers, or whatever you want to call them, B-list rappers, whatever, I like that 2 Chainz has clearly demonstrated that he has a personality over the years, you know, and it shines in his music, and it shines in the things he does outside of music. If you've ever caught his web series, Most Expensivest, you know, the guy just has, the reason why he's so successful in the studio and outside of the studio is the guy has a personality. I appreciate that. You know, it goes a long way. But here's the one thing that I knock the album for, and I feel bad almost because I feel like 2 Chainz doesn't have any control over it. I want him to get legitimate features on his. I want him to get A-list features, because, you know, when he did the Joint album with Lil Wayne, the guy went toe for toe with this dude, with one of the legends in the game, you know. And I know this was something I actually caught part of an interview with 2 Chainz where he wanted to get a Jay-Z feature. That might have put the album in my top 10. I left it out of my top 10. I want him to go toe to toe and show that he can rap with some of the greats. You know what I mean?
Right,
not just his buddies either, because Lil Wayne is his buddy and they do a lot of tracks together. You know, get somebody that's gonna just propel you just a little bit more. I'd like to. I know he can do it. You know, that's the worst part.
That's fair. I think the closest that he came to that in his previous album, Rapper Go to the League, was with Kendrick Lamar on track 8, On My Hit a Lick. And again, I don't know, the type of song, it wasn't really like a toe for toe type of track.
It didn't. Why would you waste a Kendrick feature like that? You know, don't get me wrong.
The thing is, a lot of his features are more on the pop side. Like, he's got a lot of Ty Dolla $ign, Drake, Nicki Minaj, Travis Scott.
But he can do better than that.
Migos.
I think he can do better than that.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. It's kind of like when I hear Takeoff verses, and I'm just like, dude, Takeoff is so much better than the other 2 Migos. Yeah. He's so much better. Having 2 Chainz and Takeoff on the same track, that might have happened before, I'm not sure. Yeah. But they're both like in the same kind of like subgenre, and yet I'd say they're more talented than their peers.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I think 2 Chainz just needs I need him to get on a track where it feels A level, where it feels legendary. You know what I mean? Where it puts him in that discussion with some of those guys. You know what I mean? Will it happen? I don't know. Maybe 2021. But let's segue over to my number 8, which is, and we just mentioned him. It's Funeral by Lil Wayne. This one dropped down a little bit for me. It dropped in Q1. You know, I think it was either January.
I mean, it was definitely
February.
one of the best albums of the first 3 months of the year.
Yeah,
it's just a lot of great music came out since then.
A lot of great music. I was hyped over it. If you go back to our episode 1, I was hyped over Funeral. I mean, it really was great. And there are a lot of good tracks on it. Yeah, there are a lot of good tracks on it. I think the biggest thing, and because we've covered this before, I won't go into too much detail over the individual tracks, is that the thing about Lil Wayne is he still shows that he's got it. He has got the bars, you know. I will say this, right? He's not putting out any hits, which I miss a little bit. I would love to see a Lil Wayne track hit the top 20 or the top 10. I would like people to be bumping his music.
Right.
I think
it's super hard after you've been in the game for 20 plus years.
Does he still have it in him? I don't know.
It's hard.
Sidebar. I'm trying to do a better job myself to, especially in 2021, to familiarize myself with the greats. You know what I mean? I want to be able to have that conversation with anybody about who the greatest rapper of all time is. Yeah. One thing, I guess, if I was trying to defend Lil Wayne for a top 5 spot, is his, you know, commercial success. His commercial successes haven't been phenomenal. You know, Lollipop might be one of his biggest commercial songs, but come on, Lollipop, that's a joke, you know? I mean, it was a great, I guess it was a moment, but like, I don't know, a fleeting one.
Yeah, when you compare the lyricism of his biggest tracks to the lyricism like on his mixtapes even, it's like night and day.
Not even close. And I know that I know that the most lyrical tracks aren't going to end up his biggest, you know what I mean?
Right.
Naturally, but to have a mega hit, you know, I mean, A Milli was probably his most successful commercial track, and that was very lyrical. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
So
that was a big one.
That's a big one. Anyway, so I appreciate Wayne. I'm so glad he's putting out music. Yeah, that's all I was to say.
I loved Funeral. I mean, I saved a lot of tracks, especially the second half of the album. Bing James was a big hit. That was track 8. And then from like 11 to 19, I saved pretty much every track. I re-listened to it again recently. And I saved a bunch of other tracks that I just kind of like slipped through. The first time I heard it, I remember saying Piano Trap was my favorite song, and it's still like a top 10 maybe song of 2020 to me. I love Piano Trap. The music video was really weird and random, but it's still super dope. Like favorite song on the album. Know You Know, Wild Dogs, Harden, I Don't Sleep, With Takeoff, Sights and Silencers, Ball Hard, all amazing tracks. And the instrumentals, he bounces over them like so effortlessly. I like how unique they are too. Like the beats, they are at their core, I guess, kind of like new school, contemporary, and yet it's just like Wayne enough. Like it's just got that Wayne touch in them. Like you can tell the producers knew who they were working with.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? So yeah, I just think it's a really good collection of songs, especially the second half.
Nice. So we're already to 7, and we don't have one track similar yet.
I already put Eternal to Take on that was my 7 actually.
Okay, that's our first comment. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay, so we covered that.
That's funny. That's a win for you. You know how we did the old school versus new school back in college with
I dropped down to new school. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah,
that's
you
hilarious.
got me over to your side on that one. Props to Lil Uzi Vert with that album. So what's your 7?
My 7 is Tory Lanez, The New Toronto. Great album. You know, there's a guy, obviously in the second half of 2020, he had a bunch of, you know, he was plagued with media issues, you know, the whole Meg Thee Stallion thing and, you know, reputation on the line. You know, a lot of people who were once in his camp have recently left, you know what I mean?
Right, yeah.
You being one of them, you know?
Yeah.
And rightfully so. But the man has put out 3 albums this year. The first one was The New Toronto, which, I mean, speaks for itself. Letter to the City, Who Needs Love, Do the Most, Broken a Minute, Dope Boy's Diary, Stupid Again, Pricey and Spicy. Just come on. It was ridiculous. A lot of bars. Then he dropped Daystar, which wasn't my favorite album, and it didn't make it in my top 10. And then he just recently dropped one called Loner, which is actually an honorable mention for me, but it just hasn't lived in my brain long enough yet. It's very new. It's like new within the last 2 weeks. So I couldn't put it anywhere near my top 10, but that's pretty incredible. I mean, the guy put in work this year.
Well, what about that second one you mentioned? What was that album like sonically? Because I decided I opted out of Daystar. I decided not to listen to it.
It was a little all over the place, you know. When it comes to a smooth listening experience, obviously the number of songs, the transitions, the style of songs that are adjacent to each other on a track, those types of things go into what makes an album. And even just looking at the lengths of the tracks, you know, he has one skit in there randomly. He has 5 tracks on this album, the Daystar one, that were over 5 minutes long, which I'm sorry, I don't care who you are. I can barely listen, unless it's a cipher or something like that. I can't get through 5 minutes of a song usually, you know? Yeah,
2020, forget that. It's not happening.
No. And don't get me wrong, like if you're actually, that doesn't really lend itself to rap. You know, these long songs don't always lend itself to rap because you're putting a beat on a loop, you know?
Yeah.
Okay, if you're listening to a heavy metal song or a, you know,
right, where there's like more escalation and
a bunch of instrumentation.
Instrumentation, exactly.
Yeah, the only time you'll see that in rap is if you got a beat change, you know.
Which is becoming more popular now, but I don't even know if those are with necessarily long songs.
Yeah, but the focus was the new Toronto 3. I really enjoyed that right off the bat. He killed it right in the beginning. This was before all the drama. You were still a fan. I think you'll agree with me that it was fire when it came out.
Bro, I'm gonna tell you right now, I saved almost every song on that album, and it's in my top 10. It's really high. We're not gonna get to it till later, but dude, I was listening through all my top picks for the album, for albums of the year, and it's so hard to compare anything to Toronto 3. It really is such a good album. Like it's objectively a really great hip hop album, I want to say.
Yeah.
I think
hopefully say what you need to say and then I'll say what I need to say.
All right. Yeah. I think that he has such a diverse like just I don't know what to describe it as, like a sonic range. Like his style of singing and rapping, he can rap in so many different ways. Like he can rap in like the serious rap, he can rap in like hardcore, he can do a lighter style, he can do R&B style singing, he can do like the club hits. He just has such a diverse array of vocals that I think the album really plays to that advantage. And then the production, as in his previous music, it's super epic. And I talked about this in the first episode. It's just super orchestral, and just like it almost feels like you're watching a super epic movie. I mean, the lyricism too, it wasn't bad. He went toe to toe with Joyner Lucas, which goes to show you that he's more than capable lyrically. And I think that's shown in tracks like Accidents Happen, where it had a little bit of cliche topic with the rags to riches type of story, but I really like that kind of like serious type of stuff. And then the like just like ball hard type of lyricism and Stupid Again and whatever. And DND just it gets into a very bag. He nails his niche. I'll say that.
Yeah. I'll say 2 more things real quick. Less than 15 seconds on each of them. I hope that in 2021 you give this man some room for redemption. And his most recent album, Loner, dude, killed it. He's got a bunch of great features on it too. He's got 42 Doug. He's got a song with Melly and Lil Wayne on it. He's got a song with Tyga that's really great. Dude, I mean, another great album. I hope you get to listen to it at some point. Bars. And that's my second point, is that recently, right, I saw an article where DaBaby posted a picture of him and Lil Wayne, and he tagged it 2 best lyricists alive. inactive. Meaning, obviously, I don't think he's trying to disrespect any legends who are out of the game. He's just saying, in the rap game right now, 2 best lyricists, dude.
Not even close.
How could you possibly put DaBaby over Tory Lanez? Tory Lanez is a way better lyricist than DaBaby. Don't even try to compare them. Stop it,
Dude, I mean, we'll get to this later, but I'm sure you'd agree, put DaBaby's album as like one of the worst drops of 20, or most disappointing drops of 2020.
Horrible. Horrible. I didn't save one song. I actually saved 2 songs. I saved 2 songs. Then I deleted them later. I was like,
I know. I was just re-listening to them, and I was like, it really hasn't aged well.
So bad. All right. So let's get to what would it be? 6 now?
Yeah, 6.
All right. You're gonna love my 6.